update?
Yes, give me a second. Let me share my screen and the community update report. Okay, there is the link to community update 144, RChain community update, community debrief. That's the tech update part of that in the link. And I'll share my screen. So today it was kind of hard not to be distracted by the election results in the USA. Slow going, but sounds like at least by the end of the day, most of the things would be in place. But having said that, having gotten that off my chest, let's dive into the technical report. So here is the community update. So overall, the versions that that are running on the mainnet and testnet remain the same. Last week, I said that we'll probably have the 0926 last finalized state release available this week. But Tomislav has taken off a well-deserved few days off. So that's off by a week or a short of that. So by next week, by next debrief, and hopefully before then, we'll have that release done. The release is done. He's done the tests. He was kind of in the last stages of finishing it up and fixing any errors indicated by the tests and things like that. So in addition to last finalized state testing, that release also has substantial dependencies updates, and that includes Scala PB, gRPC, NetE. Let me see what else is included in there. I think those are the, and protobufs. So all of those, especially Scala PB and protobufs, are, there is some code refactoring that was needed. And because of that, to upgrade them. And then because of that, there are new tests that need to be written and all of that. So it's a substantial release any which way you look at it, but that should be coming out within the next week. That's on the releases. But besides that, there is a lot of work going on block merge. Both NotZipper and Will have been working in two streams. NotZipper on, how do you get the blocks to merge, and then Will to look at how do you resolve conflicts. So they are getting ready to basically do the first level of joining of their work that they've been doing in two parallel streams so far. And that should also be happening over the next week. We may or may not get any release out of that at this point in time, because that may still be preliminary and there may be a few things elsewhere in the code base that we need to look at for block merge. But it is good progress. It may not look like that because these are substantial chunks of work. So we don't have, so the progress may not be actually visible to the people, but it is indeed a good progress made by both NotZipper and Will on that. I already spoke to the dependencies that are going to be released along with the last finalized state version next week. The one other dependency, this we may not actually do much with at this point in time until we get a bunch of other things resolved, is updating to Scala 2.13. Last time we attempted that, there were substantial code changes needed. That is probably still the case, though we have resolved some of those in the course of the last several updates. But we may delay that until we have other features released. So that's where we are with the dependencies. There is a Swagger PR that Will has that's mostly complete, but there were some reviewer comments on that that he's trying to resolve. And because of the block merge work, that will probably be on the back burner for a little bit. He'll address that either as he gets time or if he's blocked on the block merge thing or something like that. But that's kind of also in process. At some point, it'll be released, probably in the next couple of weeks. That's where we are on the releases and features and what work we're doing. The other stream, this week, there has been an intense amount of work going on the hackathon. We have the initial cohort of students identified. We started engaging with them to both educate them a little bit more about the platform and to make sure that they get set up with their development environment. Theo and Jim White-Scarver have been substantially helpful in there. They're kind of running a session with these students every day this week. And so thank you to both of them. Also, Dan Conley has done a lot of work getting us ready for the hackathon with the learning examples, the links to documentation. You know, he contributed substantially to the hackathon page with the links and the development and environment and all that, as well as actually created much of the things in there that they could, that the students could use and get up to speed quickly on the platform. So thanks to Dan Conley for that. Overall, however, we're still continuing to market the hackathon because we would like more participants to join us for the hackathon. So now we are doing, and this for this, Ian and Steve Henley and Lilia and Daryl, everybody's helping out to really do one more push. We tried a few universities in the US for the hackathon before. We didn't get a whole lot of response. So now we're doing another significant push, trying to get some registrations in by November 6th so they can participate in the hackathon on November 7th and 8th. So that's another part of that that's going on the hackathon. So please do spread the word in the circles that you know. And or help with any of these documentation tasks or examples, whatever you're able to help with in terms of getting people. Because the way we're looking at the hackathons is that this is basically a good experience for us to try to onboard a few people that are completely new to the platform, never heard about it, perhaps never heard about some of the underlying technologies or even things like Lambda or Pi. So we're kind of taking this on as a challenge to say, how do you bring somebody up to speed to be able to pick up either some or all or most of it over the span of a week with a lot of self-directed immersion, but with us pointing and guiding them and help them troubleshoot along the way. So it's been an interesting experience, and I think it would help us in future from a developer ecosystem development standpoint. So those are, I think, the main things I wanted to cover. Are there any questions on any of this or anything around the tech?
So we're waiting on tests, right? Tests to address the code refactoring.
That is correct. On the block merge side of things, yes, there's quite a bit of testing to be done. As well as just bringing the two streams together and make sure that that it's working as intended. And I think they have to also validate on the Casper side and elsewhere if there are any changes needed with the block merge, because that has not been looked at in a long time. The Casper, because previously we were running. I mean, last time we, I guess, tried it, we didn't notice a whole lot that needs to be changed, but it is still with these code changes. That's another thing we need to revisit and make sure everything is still working as intended. Any other questions?
Well, in general, I just want to comment that I continue to be humbled and impressed by the dev team's engagement, persistence, insight, and hard work. It's fantastic to work with people like that. And I'm hoping we can infect some younger minds with the dream.
Yeah. So that's something we'll have to work hard on, that problem, between probably not only just this this hackathon, but on an ongoing basis over the next 3 to 6 months, and add to the team so that we are at a point where we can deliver faster and help support more dApp development and things like that. So yeah, that's what we need to work on over the next several months.
Yeah, I'm wondering if is live coding still popular as a platform? Livecoding.tv.
There's some of that on Twitch. So there might be a couple channels where that could appeal.
Yeah, I think we might want to head over to those kinds of Twitch and livecoding.tv, or and find any other international channels, and start setting up some maybe bi-monthly sessions, if not weekly sessions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And also, what one of the things that Theo was doing with the current cohort was just to reduce their whole development environment thing. He was trying to get them set up on Gitpod, which is basically a cloud solution where you can do your changes. Sort of, you can think of it as a cloud VS Code or whatever. And then you can make your changes and you log into it using your GitHub login, and then you can basically update, do your commits from there to the GitHub repo. So yeah, so I think whatever channels we can find out that we should do that. We should get the word out, and maybe if there are 2 or 3 such channels with their own audience, maybe we can do a couple of sessions in each of those or whatever.
Yeah. I think we need to start looking at those angles. Very good. Thank you, Rao. Great update. So the board met this week officially. There was essentially 2 votes, and those are the required votes. So this is the new board that includes the usual suspects, plus Rao is now officially a voting member of the board, and Camilla joined us as per the election results. So the results of the board's votes are that Lilia is once again secretary for the board. Congratulations to Lilia. Many thanks for your hard work in that and fulfilling that basically thankless job. So our heartfelt gratitude to Lilia for stepping up once again. And the board also elected yours truly as the president of the cooperative. So those are the results of the board. The rest of the meeting was informational. So we went over the SPV work and the hackathon. We have discussed a little bit more on the jurisdiction considerations. In particular, Evan Jensen did do a review of the Wyoming legislation that is crypto positive. So that's something that we are definitely looking at again more seriously on the basis of his review. I would urge anyone who is interested to take a look at the Wyoming legislation. If you have any strong feelings about that, that would be good. Having states pass that legislation or legislation like that is useful because we can take that to Washington state legislators. And an administration that is crypto positive along with a Congress that is crypto positive, would also be helpful in the in convincing state legislators that maybe it's time to become a bit more competitive and a little less Luddite when it comes to crypto technology. So anyway, that's those are the results of the board meeting. Any questions or comments?
Was that review written?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. He posted it to the board, so I don't know if he wants us to quote it for the membership, but we can certainly.
Oh, I see.
I can certainly ask Evan if he doesn't mind if we share it.
Yeah, I just was considering that could be something for the blog.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Or Medium.
And I would say that in any case, I mean, whether the review is part of it or not, we could certainly point to the membership, the actual statutes that Evan pointed to, because that's public information. And I think it's that part of it, at least, there should be no question that we can publish it out in the members channel or somewhere for people to look at. And the blog article would be nice on that. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. There was also some nice discussion towards the end, largely sparked by Evan's curiosity. It's creating an AI marketplace is a lot of fun, and it's an idea that a blockchain-based AI marketplace. It's an idea that I actually suggested to Justin Long back in 2015, before I was considering actually diving in and building a blockchain. I was hoping to just use one, but many people have come to RChain in 2018 with similar ideas, and it's more or less an idea waiting to happen. So if there are any folks out there who are in contact or connected to AI-driven efforts, RChain is a really good platform for wiring up different AIs. With that, unless there are any questions, I will turn it over to Daryl for the community and review. Okay, Daryl, are you ready?
I am ready.
Awesome.
Hello, everybody. So here's the week in review for Thursday, the 29th to Wednesday, today, the 4th of November. Last Thursday, there was no governance committee call. On Thursday as well, there was the DApp Developer Working Group, and they reviewed the RChain Rholang Community Contracts Experiment. On Friday, in the Climate and Coordination Call, we spoke about rewilding efforts around the world, as well as the threat of sea level rise in America's oldest city. And then we also discussed how RChain takes the web and blockchain and brings those innovations to another level. And if I may, I would like to take the liberty of reading out a bit of a transcript from that call, because I thought it was quite enlightening for myself, and I'm hoping maybe some others. So Greg and Steve Ross Talbot had a discussion near the last half of the RCast. And I'll just read a bit of the transcript here. So the blockchain is the next iteration of the internet. The web is a giant distributed map of names to resources. Blockchain is also a giant distributed map of names to resources, but the web doesn't allow for transactional update. Blockchains allow for transactional update, and that's the real shift. For the last 25 years, there's been names and structure and correspondence between path and name. But with blockchain, they have names to content, but they forgot about the structure part. So with Ethereum, there's no relationship between whatever structure it does enjoy and the structure of the data that you access. You need to have a relationship between the structure of the names and the structure of the data that you are accessing via those names. The rho-calculus brings together all these pieces: the structure of the name, the structure of the data, and the transactional characteristics. And with this structure, you can calculate isolation. And with isolation, you have no conflicts. You can have branches as long as you have a discipline so you don't put the same file in different folders. And this allows for concurrency. Anyways, I just thought that was a really great kind of wave that Greg caught there. So I just wanted to kind of read it back out to you guys. And if you want to actually check out the conversation, I highly recommend going to YouTube or go to blog.rchain.coop and look for the latest Rcast. All right, off my soapbox. Okay, so on Saturday at there's a hackathon call, and the attendees discussed and prepared for the upcoming hackathon. We reviewed and became familiar with the Code Tantra conference interface. Mentoring sessions for participants were planned, and we discussed staff needs and team availability. On Sunday, there was a hackathon call. Jim Weitzcarver and Rao helped hackathon participants set up their user environment. On Monday, in the Casper Standup call, this week's Casper Standup reviewed a rho-calculus model of linear logic. The relevance of this to RChain is that it may reduce the cost of replay. Also on Monday, in the RDev member co-op planning call, meeting attendees discussed the possibility of RDev not registering as a legal entity, but rather have as members provide their own registered legal entity contract work. In the future, RDev could register as a membership organization. They discussed membership organizations such as the Association of United Internet Consultants, and they discussed a staff and human resources business model for RDev. On Tuesday, in the RChain education call, they continued hackathon training session. Greg spoke on the math behind rho-calculus. Also yesterday in the communications working group, we discussed updating our coin market cap links. We discussed the idea of updating the current white paper. Also propagating our Medium channel and the Chinese Medium channel, as well as bringing an external marketer experienced in blockchain projects. And this morning, there was a hackathon training call, and in today's session, they deployed Pizza Shop, a Rholang smart contract example on testnet. They added RChain toolkit to our boilerplate and queried stuff from blockchain. And also Jim showed the Liquid Democracy UI that Dan had made. And then just last hour in the RChain active member call in Jim's room, we discussed and reviewed hackathon training in progress and discussed the RDev meeting from Monday. And that brings us to now.
Any questions for Daryl? Okay. So yeah, I did want to make a few points quickly to elaborate the point about replay and the linear types. So one of the things that linearity, at least in the sense of linear logic, guarantees is no double spend. So that means that you could check at compile time for those transactions which are just about moving rev from one address to another. You can use the linear types to statically check that there's no double spend. Now, there's a lot more going on in Rholang than just rev transactions. So using the linear types would not catch other shenanigans which might constitute an attack from a malicious validator or a malicious shard. So it's not a complete or total solution. People should be aware that verified code or verified execution, rather, is still an open research problem. There are lots of interesting avenues, but no one has provided a compelling solution in the 20 years of research that I'm aware of. Mike Stay, for example, who worked in this area, has been, rather pessimistic that there will be good results in that area. But we can look at limited versions of the problem, and that's what the linear types can do for replay, right? The issue is that right now, what our validators do is replay the code. So we're given effectively a trace of execution, and we replay the code to see if the trace tallies and the states match up, and that's what constitutes a check that we don't have something funny going on. So rerunning the code, especially with additional checks to make sure that the trace, the COM event trace that we do have lines up with one of the possible execution paths, is actually slightly more expensive, and sometimes a lot more expensive than just playing the code in the first place. That puts a significant computational burden on the validators. If we could avoid some of that replay, and if we could avoid a lot of that replay, then that would significantly speed up our performance. And we're still scaling linearly whether or not we have these kinds of optimizations, but these kinds of optimizations are very valuable for speed up without having to pour hardware into the mix, which is kind of the so we can work performance improvements from both ends, right? We can optimize the software, and we can or we can add hardware. So that's some of the benefits of RChain. The interesting there are sort of technical interesting points about this particular encoding. For example, in 2012, Phil Wadler, who's very well known in computer science circles, came up with a PyCalculus model of the linear types, and so that you had the type judgment algorithm for these typed PyCalculus processes, the type assignment algorithm ensured the property guaranteed by the linear types, which in this case is effectively termination. But the one of the desiderata that shows up in his encoding is that it's not really PyCalculus. It's only PyCalculus if you squint hard enough. So he has to take a lot of liberties with the PyCalculus in order to get it to line up with the linear types. What this encoding shows is that you can follow a recipe that I identified many years ago. I think it was like 2005 that I identified this recipe, where you can literally just put a filter on the kinds of syntactic constructs that you allow using the rho-calculus grammar. So you can see it as a proper sub-grammar of the whole rho-calculus grammar. And it gives you, it selects out a full and faithful model of the linear types. So that's a plus, right? We don't have to like, pardon my French, but we don't have to bastardize the calculus in order to get it to model the linear types. So that's a plus, and it means that you can write ordinary Rholang code and still subject it to this kind of type check and get the properties that you want. So it's a very pleasant encoding, and I'm in the process of writing it up. I'll probably do a blog entry before I do a more formal technical paper, but there was a more detailed technical presentation in the Casper Standup. So if you are interested in the details, feel free to watch that that stand up. Any questions? All right. Thanks to everyone. Appreciate everyone's hard work. Now we're in a position where we have so much to offer. So it's really time to get the word out about RChain. We have a lot to offer. So if you know of any crypto shows, any media channels, now is the time, because we can offer clear evidence of our scaling. We can offer clear evidence that we're serious. We're in mainnet. The mainnet has moved millions of dollars worth of assets at this point. We have some very significant apps that are dApps that are running, and we have the whole Dazzle offering. So please start reaching out. Now is the time to get the word out about RChain. It's really absolutely the time to let people know. Okay, with that, unless there are any other questions or comments that that must be addressed in this debrief, we can yield back the time to the community. Going once. Twice. Please stay safe, everyone. Talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks, Greg.